No micromanagers were harmed in the making of this video. Hey, and welcome to my channel. I'm Eva, and I'll be here every Friday evening with new videos on building meaningful careers and inspiring workplaces. If it's your first time here, welcome! You're in for practical tips, inspiration, and a 10-second dance break somewhere in the middle. I'm on a mission to help as many people as possible get what they want out of their careers. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Are there any challenges that you're currently facing at work? Are there any goals that you're really trying to achieve? Because I want to make sure this content is as valuable as possible to you. If it's not your first time here, then welcome back. It's great to have you. And if you find these videos entertaining or useful, I would be so grateful if you would please hit the subscribe button so you're the first to know about new videos every week. Let's get to it. One of the most annoying things and damaging things in any workplace is the dreaded micromanager. I kind of think of them like dementors. They're just lurking there, waiting to suck all of the joy out of any work that you do. And if you don't know what a dementor is, please go watch Harry Potter like yesterday. But they're obsessive, you can't do right by them, and you just can't seem to get them off your back. Micromanagers are bad for productivity, they destroy team morale, and they kill motivation. And you'll know this if you've ever had a micromanager. I once had someone ask me to write down what I was doing for every single hour of every day. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are the worst micromanagement behaviors that you've experienced? Please comment down below and let me know. And if you're a micromanager and you're here to try and get better, I really do, I applaud you. It takes a lot of courage to want to change and to want to do better. I know the intention mostly comes from a really good place, so just look at the list below for things you can not do and how you can treat your team and get the best out of them by stopping all this micromanaging behavior. We're going to break down what a micromanager is and isn't, then we're going to look at why they are this way, and finally give you some great tips on how you can better deal with a micromanager and fight them off. Meet the micromanager! A manager should be a team leader, a decision maker, and a coach. They shouldn't oversee every little tiny thing that you do. However, it can sometimes be a fine line. Micromanagement is not any of the following: asking for necessary updates on the progress of your work, or suggesting that there are changes that you can make that are critical to the success of the project. It's also not micromanagement to tell you that you need to be on time for meetings and that you need to be hitting your deadlines with a high level and high quality of work. Finally, it's not micromanagement to be introducing and implementing processes which will increase and improve the team's efficiency. So we've looked at what micromanagement is and isn't, but the important thing is we all have confirmation biases. So we just look at the evidence to support what we already think. So if you think that your boss is a micromanager, then every time they ask you for an update, you're going to be very inclined to think, oh, it's just them being a micromanager again. Or if they already think that you're not pulling your weight and you're not doing what you need to be, then every time you make one tiny mistake, they're only ever going to find mistakes in your work. Let's assume we've run a thorough assessment and you're absolutely sure that you are dealing with the dreaded micromanager. Well, people don't tend to change until they feel that they've been understood. So as a first step in trying to change this very annoying behavior, let's try to understand how they came to be. Let's play What Is My Manager Thinking? Please tick all that apply. I hate you and I want to ruin your life. Well, I've got nothing better to do, so I'm just going to ask them to write me updates so that I feel more useful. You're not giving me what I need, and I'm not convinced you're doing your job well enough. Well, my targets depend on their targets, and I need to make sure that I'm in control of what's going on and doing well at my job. Which do you think it is? You'll probably find that C and D are the most likely and most reasonable options. If that's the case, let's cut them a little bit of slack. Most managers have moved from being a fantastic independent contributor at being so good at the job that they do to having to do a completely different role. They now have to be a leader, a mentor, and a coach, and that's not what got them to where they are in the first place. They are committed to doing a great job, and that often manifests into falling into the trap of being just too meticulous about other people's work and ends up in the annoying behavior of the micromanager we know. A message to the micromanagers: you need to be focused on the strategy, the structure of your teams, the direction of the business, and how to coach and upskill your employees. What are all of your updates serving? Are they actually helping your employees do a better job, or are they just feeding your need to have control over the situation? Is it a good use of your time to be involved in every tiny decision, or is that wasting a lot of your time? Who else on your team could be turned to for advice or feedback so that you don't need to be involved in every single little thing? Now, I'm not saying that means you need to be completely hands-off and not care about your team. People definitely need clear expectations, constructive feedback, and they need a coach. They just don't need to be micromanaged. In all your interactions, you should have the underlying assumption that your employees are very capable because you hired them and you put them in that role. And if you didn't, then you should be looking at changing some of the structure of your team if that's not the case. We're getting to the juicy stuff now. While your senior leadership should be nipping micromanagement in the bud, if that's not the case, there are ways that you can deal with it and how you can fight off your micromanager. Now, the first way is probably something that you've already tried if you're watching this video, just ignoring that behavior and trying to do your work to the best of your abilities. But if you're here, you probably already know that that just causes a lot of stress and anxiety and makes you much less motivated at work. The other reaction is to fight. Just get ready to insult them in front of other people and completely disrespect them in meetings and just not do anything that they ask you to do. And that brings me on to perfect timing for a 10-second dance break. And it's going to be a fighting one this time. I highly recommend that you don't resort to violence and deal with your anger in a more constructive manner. But wait, what if your manager is actually just being a good manager? They might be showing some of these annoying behaviors, but what if it's you? Have the courage to be the bigger person and recognize that you may have some responsibility in why your boss is acting the way that they are. It can be really difficult to look at ourselves, so I've instilled the help of my inner critic Barbara. She can be really annoying at times, but sometimes she's worth listening to. So let's look at the questions you can ask yourself to see if you have any responsibility in your manager micromanaging you. Have you missed a bunch of deadlines or delivered work that is poor quality so they need to be more involved? Do you keep your manager in the loop regarding the progress of your projects? Are you late to all of your meetings? Do you respect their role, or are you off doing things that the company might not need? So if any of those apply to you, it's possible that you just have a small part in responsibility. But suck it up, because there's a lot that you can do about it. Number one, beat your micromanager to the case. If they're asking for constant updates, send them an update before they have a chance to ask for it. Ask for help earlier on. If you know you're going to struggle with a task, let them know what the constraints are and ask them who you can ask for more support and more help. Or longer term, if there are weaknesses that you have, which we all do, let your manager know so that they can help and support you. And finally, take feedback on board. I know it can be difficult, but ask for it regularly in your reviews and make sure that you think about how you can implement that in your day-to-day work. If none of the above apply and you are a stellar employee, then here are some of the ways to deal with your manager. Number one, give them a chance to fix it. It's possible that they've fallen into that trap and just had some really annoying behavior, but if you ask them questions to reflect on that, they may be able to rectify it before it becomes a bigger problem. So you could tell your manager that you want to be trusted to deal with all the smaller issues, and could you focus on some of the larger areas where you need their support? Alternatively, you could tell them that you feel that you're spending a lot of time reporting on the work that you're doing rather than doing the work, and you want to be trusted to make your own decisions more effectively. Do they feel that there's an important area that you're not performing in? And if there is, then they can offer you the feedback straight away. And if there isn't, then they'll start to reflect on their own behavior and see whether it's justified. If they're still being really controlling after you've tried those light touch methods, then some people you just need to give the illusion of control. And I love this because it reminds me of the great movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the wife says that the man is the head of the house and he makes all the decisions, but the woman is the neck, so she turns the head any way she wants. And that's kind of what you have to do with your manager. You could say, I work best when I have 3 to 4 hours of uninterrupted work to get the best job done. How do you suggest I go about this? So put the ball back in their court. Alternatively, I want to be able to make effective decisions on my own. How do you suggest I grow this skill? And then they have no option but to come up with solutions that were their idea that will help you. Here's a longer term solution to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. And sometimes managers may need a little bit of coaching in this area too. And that is having clear expectations, clear boundaries, and better feedback. Have an open conversation with your manager about how often is reasonable and necessary to share updates on the progress of your work, or who do you go to when a project isn't going according to plan, or if you come up with any challenges, which you no doubt will. Number 4, let your manager know when they're doing well. It's like Pavlov's dogs. You want to end up reinforcing the positive behavior. So if a manager has given you a lot of autonomy, a lot of trust, make sure you tell them. It doesn't have to be in front of the whole team, but it could be something as simple as, I really appreciate the autonomy and the freedom that you gave me within this project to do my best work. That will make sure that they want to repeat the behavior in future. I hope you found this helpful and you can now deal with your micromanager more effectively. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for new videos every week. And I'd also love to hear in the comments, what did you think? Have you dealt with a micromanager? Are you a recovering micromanager? And what your effective strategies for dealing with it are. Thanks for watching and see you next week.